What's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La, your favorite around the way therapist. Shout out to all of the dads out there. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you beautiful gentlemen out there. It's Sunday. It has definitely been a day. As you guys know, I lost my dad 6 years ago. So Father's Day is always a tough time. And so I'm working through this day, and I'm going to work the show with you. So I know a lot of individuals out there can relate, either because of an absentee dad or because your father's no longer here. So we're going to try to make sure that the show is going to touch on a little bit of everything, right? Like those of us that have really great relationships with our fathers that no longer here. We're going to talk about some of the people who are not having the best relationship with their dad. We're going to talk about all of that. And I got a special guest in the building with me tonight. And so I had the pleasure of meeting him first at this dispensary here called New Deal. And what I loved about this space, shout out to Remy in the city who curated this space, is that there was a collection of conversations and also some poetry. So I had a chance to hear him share some pieces about his love life and his dating experiences, which is pretty juicy. And I would beg to say controversial as well. And so I am excited to bring him on the show because he is the co-host of his own radio show called The Tape Deck Hour, and he's also the co-host of Boss Lady News' podcast, which you probably have seen Boss Lady News on Inside the Ride with Messy Marv Neal and Ray Royale. She comes on, I think, every third Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to Boss Lady News. And he's also the podcast host of Rucker's podcast as well. So I want to bring on the show with me Mr. Cuban Mic.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
There you go, sir. It's good. I'm glad to have you here with me. A lot of individuals that tune in on Sunday have made comments about me having more men. So I have tried to make sure I have this balance of bringing on more men on the show. And so this segment is called Men Meet Self-Care 2. And as you guys know, here at the Urban Heat, we are radio with a purpose. So we always try to make sure we're having conversations that are timely and relevant to our community. So it's Father's Day. And me and you have talked offline about fathers and fatherhood and masculinity and all this great stuff.
We did a lot of talking.
A lot of talking. And so I'm just curious though, who is Cuban Mic? I know you gave me your bio in terms of radio and podcasting, but what don't people know, especially when you think about the context of fatherhood, masculinity, and today being Father's Day? What is something that you want the audience to know?
Well, I'm originally from New Jersey, and then from Jersey, I moved to Lawrence, Massachusetts, and I pretty much grew up there, primarily Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. It was crazy because when I grew up in Jersey, it was primarily Cubans. So when I moved to Lawrence, I couldn't find none of my peoples out there. It was like I had to go back to Jersey to see what a Cuban looks like. But Lawrence is a heavily influenced Latino community. Through that, I was able to navigate, and I hooked up with a couple of poets, a crew called Soul Caliber, which they introduced me to poetry. Prior to that, I used to rap on the low. So anybody who's from the hood, you try to have a little 16 hitting or whatever if you're going to get into a cipher. Unfortunately, you're gonna catch me on the 28 though. So I'm gonna hook you up for that day.
I forgot to tell y'all that. He's also going to be one of the featured poets at Poet Therapy.
Yeah. And my voice is not even up to par because I just came from the Phillies picnic a couple of weeks ago, and my voice has just been raspy. So I did the tape deck hour, and then my friends hit my boss heard the episode, why are you trying to sound extra sexy for no apparent reason? No, it's just did a lot of yelling there. There's a lot of yelling, but I'm gonna have to work there.
2 years ago to the group picnic, and it
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Yeah, beautiful.
I
beautiful.
enjoyed myself
Oh,
so much.
the black unity there was just
It's so much great energy. I
Yeah.
saw Summer Walker,
Yeah.
Keisha Cole. It was great.
You know what's funny? Like I paid a good amount of price, but the person who I really wanted to see the whole time was A. Marie.
I saw that. That was your crush.
I loved her. That was my baby back in the day.
Oh my God, you were so excited. He was like, "Oh my God, 20 years!
20 years I waited for this. I waited my whole life for this."
I remember that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see Mary. Mary was there that year,
Yeah.
and she went on last. It was like midnight.
Oh,
And
really?
we just couldn't. I just couldn't wait no more. So
Yeah.
I missed Mary when I went that
All right.
2 years ago.
Yeah, so I ended up joining a poetry crew out there, and they helped me like advance on my writing skills. So I you meet these guys are very like pro militant, pro black. They're like against, and we were in college back in the day, so we were just like anti system. But when they brought me in law, it was like I brought like some kind of like some seriousness, but I also brought like a little bit of comedy relief and try to bring a little bit of lighthearted stuff there, because when you get too intense amongst the audience, we tend to scare folks out there, because it's nothing more scary than a black man expressing his opinion, especially when you go against corporate in colleges that are people that don't look like us.
You definitely have like more of an advocacy sort of protest style of poetry, even with the piece you did on dating. It's a plot twist. You guys definitely come check it
oh
out.
God, what's so funny? People saw the video and it was like so many girls that like loved it, but they like follow. I know you follow certain way too, but like I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about a specific person that did something that wasn't supposed to do, and it was vintage.
Listen, don't y'all do Cuban wrong.
It's a little bit of vintage. But I'm in a good space now. So next time I'll bring a love thing going on there to show that I'm in a good space. It was just angry. You a little angry.
But I think tonight's conversation is all about managing mental health.
Yes.
Right? And so it is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that we don't give men the space to be emotional. And there is a stereotype that men don't have emotions.
Yeah.
They're not emotional.
Yeah.
Or they're emotionally unavailable. And I think that some of that is true. And then I also think that men are socialized to not express their emotions. So are they truly emotionally unavailable, or are they showing up the way they're expected to show up, which is men don't cry? Men are supposed to be stronger than rocks. You're not supposed to complain. You're supposed to be a problem solver and just get things done. So where's the space to really say this is hard?
It is insane, because I think it's like a catch-22. I think nowadays we're like in a real good spot right now as to men speaking on their emotions and how they could express themselves and feel vulnerable. I joined a group in Lawrence called Brothers in Arm, and there's a group of men. They join every Monday, and they get to speak about their feelings, their emotions, their vulnerability, whether their family, their work, baby mama drama. You even got kids now. We got teenagers like ranging between 15 and 16, 17, speaking about issues they're having with their parents. And it's such a dope thing right now that we got to be vulnerable, and we got these men now going to therapy more than ever. But it's also interesting because it's like you got to find a balance now as men. We just can't be emotional with everybody, because they still don't want us to be vulnerable. We still got to man up when certain things happen. So I'll tell you a quick story. Last year I had a friend of mine on Facebook that did this big post, big enough men, black men in particular, like, black kings, we're here for you. We know society's against you, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward the following week, she posted another video of a man crying at his wedding. And she's like, oh, no, I can't. The day we get married, I need to be the one crying. I need to be the one. You be able to hold that, because this is just too emotional. Like, what happened in future, things happen, you're going to cry in front of me. So we still got to find that balance of when we could be emotional and not be emotional.
Yeah, I think, you touch on something that's really important. And, shout out to everyone that's tuned in through Instagram, Facebook, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We see y'all. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share the live, like, comment. You can also call in and talk to us as well if you want to, express your feelings. 617-238-7111, 617-238-7111. But I think that when you think about it, if we don't allow the space, right, for men to express their emotions, then how can we say they're emotionally unavailable?
Exactly.
Right. And I think a lot of women have to be honest that when that happens, there is a certain emotion that gets triggered in you where you're like, oh shoot, he's falling apart. What do we do now? If a man is supposed to protect and provide, can he actually show weakness? Can he show that he doesn't know what to do? Can he show that he doesn't have it all together? Right? So where's the space for him to sort of say, you know what, this is a lot, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I am overwhelmed. There's a video I put on my conversations with Coach Law of a gentleman whose boy calls him and he's like, hey, how you doing? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I just need to fall back and get quiet and stay on my grind. I'm just handling my business. We need to get up and have a drink. He gets off the phone and he literally is crying while he's driving the car. He's rubbing his eyes. He's having a hard time staying awake. And we sometimes look at those qualities as a man is not expressing himself, or that he's not available, or he's shutting down. And those are telltale signs sometimes of depression, anxiety, mood disorder, that something's not right. So I don't know. Well, that's not true. I do know. I'm your favorite around the way therapist. Of course I have all the answers. Of course I do.
I feel like I'm getting some free game right now. I feel like I'm getting like a free therapist session right now. So I think I have a feeling that right after the show's over, I'll talk more about my life and be like, you know what? When I was 8 years old, I went through the situation.
Let me tell you something, right? Like you are on the virtual couch. Yeah. Something that I found out, and I told you offline, but Black Americans are 20% more likely to experience a serious mental health problem compared to the general population. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But what are some of the reasons why you think that is?
It's a lot. When I talked about this on my podcast a while ago with a group of my guy friends, it's like dealing in this world, especially as a Black man in America, is like once you leave out that door, you feel as though the world is against you. It's against you. Mm-hmm. You got the whole world within your shoulders. It's one of those things that you just got to muscle up and handle business. So again, it's one of those things. It's like you just talked about the video about the guy crying. And it's like we have our moments where we don't feel well. We need that hug. We need somebody to talk to. We need somebody to, if I want to cry like a baby, I need to be open like that, because then what happens is we suppress our feelings. Then we do use other coping mechanisms to try to feel better. Some people go to drinking. Some people go to pills. Some people go to weed. We use other things to make us feel better, to hold our thing down. And all that thing does is just make you feel for a couple of hours, and then you're back to being depressed again. So if we don't feel good, America or Boston, whoever's listening to me, like, please listen to us. I don't feel good. I need a hug.
Yes.
Hug me.
And I think, as women, so there was another one, shout out to Marv Neal. He had posted on his Instagram page a video of a woman who was talking about her husband. And I'm going to paraphrase that to the best of my ability. But basically what happened was he was late. And she was first worried, and then she got more and more irritated because he hadn't called, he hadn't checked in. And she said in that moment, she had a decision to make. When he came in the door, was she going to greet him with love or greet him with hostility? Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that often us as women have to think about how we're showing up, which takes us to a whole nother thing with dating, right? Yeah. Because I think as a Black woman, we also just have so much on our plates, and we have so much stress that sometimes that place of being able to not be in a yelling, irritable place, we can't even get into that place because both parties are so stressed out. Yeah. Right? The prevalence of the economic conditions, racism, discrimination, and everything that we got to deal with. We're just so beat up and so aggravated and so stressed out. Like, how can you flip that switch? Yeah. To be able to be in that space when you're both so stressed out. And sometimes we could be our worst enemy. Yeah. That's another part that we don't talk about. We could be our own worst enemy and we don't even know it. Well, I think, and the worst enemy is really coming from, I don't really have a solution for these problems. Yeah. Okay, I can come sit and talk to you in therapy, right? But what's that really going to do? How's talking going to help me? So despite these higher rates that we experience as people of color, Black men especially are less likely to go seek out mental health treatment compared to their white counterparts. And I think it's because what's talking going to do? What's talking about this going to do? I need a job. I need housing. My boss is on my back. My girl needs this or needs that. My kids need that. I'm being taken for child support. Like, I don't. How's talking about this going to change my condition?
Well, I mean, talking is a start. So I think first of all, talking is a wonderful thing. It's the best, weapon mechanism you can use.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah. So talking is a start, because if you talk, somebody around that area can help you find a solution on how to fix those problems. Mm-hmm. So whether it could be words of motivation. I mean, if you're dealing with something that's, dealing with the court, somewhere around it, you could have a good conversation and somebody could help you out with a paralegal or a lawyer. Just try to find somebody to talk to. And somewhere around it during your road of trying to find that path of symbols of happiness while you're being stressed out, you'll find an answer,
So I do agree. I think there is research that shows that expressing verbally, just like working out, allows you to have a physical release.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're holding everything in, it's like if you were a soda bottle and you got shaken up. Eventually, that top has to be loosened and you're going to explode. So being able to just simply say, this is a lot, and to talk through what your plan is very helpful, having a sounding board. So sometimes it's just having a space, which I'm glad you said you have a men's group.
Yeah.
I believe there's a few men's groups that I've heard about in the city where people can sit and just sort of chop it up with other men and get solutions.
As a matter of fact, one of your people went to one of my groups. I'm drawing a blank right now, but he's one of your people. So you guys did some kind of conference back a couple of months ago, and I told you about him. Forgot his name. It'll come back to me in a few.
Okay.
But
I think what I've learned about working with men, especially Black men, is community is really important, right? And being able to have brothers that you can connect to that understand is really important, because the statistics show that 26.4% of Black and Hispanic men ages 18 to 24 who have experienced daily feelings of anxiety or depression haven't sought out mental health services. So they're not seeking it out. And a lot of that is coming from they don't have people that look like
them. Not only that, I mean, this might be a little touchy to talk about, but then you have people that it also leads to suicide.
Oh, I was going to talk about that too.
Yeah.
And just correction, I said that wrong. 26.4% have sought out.
Yeah.
That's the percentage that have sought it out. So.
Yeah, I mean, even with that, I mean, at this moment, I don't know. I've at least known like 5 or 6 men that took their life from the ages between 14, as young as 14, as high as like 40 something. And it's because of something personal, traumatic that happens to them that they just couldn't take it no more.
There was suicide rates is one of the leading causes of death among Black men ages 15 to 24.
Wow.
And when I think about that, that is a pivotal point in development.
Wow.
That is when you really come to terms with, this is my clinical opinion, and also having a son who's 18, of like, oh snap, what do I do now? Like, high school was usually over at that point. Now you're really faced with having to know what to do in life. And I think there's a lot of pressure for men and women, but primarily men have the responsibility of being a provider and a protector. And if you don't know how to provide or protect yourself, how do you transition into this role that you now have to become to have a family? That's also a key part when you start dating. And a lot of people end up married or looking at having a family between that age. Mm-hmm. And you're also a youth in general. That's puberty. 15 is like you're full-fledged into puberty at that age.
Yeah.
So you think about trying to figure out who you are, and identity sticks out for me on why that might be the case. And these rates increase among Black adolescents, and men are more affected than females.
I believe that 100% believe that. I didn't know the number was so high though.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
And then between 1991 and 2017, suicide attempts among Black adolescents had increased by 73%. Now I haven't seen what the statistics are currently for 2024, but that was I said to myself, I wonder why the spike during that time frame. But you know, I just think about life in the inner city is really challenging, with the prevalence of violence, gun violence, and the trauma that we have, secondary trauma. I think is really profound.
And lack of resources also, and
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot going on.
Right.
So again, I'm glad that we have these safe spaces. I'm glad you have this moment to have me on your show to talk about this.
Thank you for coming. I mean,
I would have missed this for the world. I've been trying to get into your show for like the last 6 months now. I've been damn near begging. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, like I said to everyone, today is a tough day. With my dad passing away, and although he passed away from multiple organ failure and heart attack, I had many conversations with him about his mental health, especially with me going into this field. So he always talked about, not going into the black hole. That's what he talked about in terms of depression. And I tell people about the bet on self. Like he would always tell me, baby, at the end of the day, you need to bet on yourself. You really need to know who you are. And you need to get up every day and live your life according to Lakeisha.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one thing that he regretted in his life, was allowing society, women, his friends, to dictate the different decisions that he was making in his life. There was a lot of things he wished he would have just took Kenny's advice and just did what Kenny wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot as I, move through life. And that's why I've been big on this bet on self. But bet on self came out of me needing to connect to my father and find a way to deal with my own grief. And now it's become a mantra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So, I asked people about what therapy means to them. I know we sort of jumped into why this conversation is so important and why I wanted to have it in Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. But in terms of you, like, how has therapy played a role in your life as a Black man?
I was able to confront my own demons. That's number one.
Well, when you say demon, for those that are listening that may not understand.
I take it back. I don't want to say demons. I take it back. Let me backtrack. I don't want to say demons. I was able to confront certain individuals and confront certain lack of what's what I'm looking for. There was this really, believe it or not, I had like this really lack of confidence and also lack of how to confront certain people that I love. Because if there's people in the streets, I have no problem stepping you in the street. But when it came to family, it was like I was tiptoeing on how do I talk to this person, how do I maneuver how to talk to this person, because I know how they are. Are they going to be stubborn and not listen to me? And they're going to be talking to a wall. So there's a lot of dynamics I don't know how to deal with. And plus, I had friends of mine that were it was actually two of my friends that advised me to go to therapy. And then the last person who actually advised me to go to therapy was my ex-wife. So she was like the nail in the coffin, because when my other friend was going to therapy, I kind of knew their stories, but the way I looked at my situation, like, well, my problems ain't that bad. And like, I don't have a problem expressing myself, but my thing, like, why do I gotta pay for a profession? I got y'all to talk to, whatever. But they were telling me, no, it's best if you go to somebody that is not from a non-biased perspective, and they could like analyze you and try to figure the situation out. So when I was married and things with my ex-wife wasn't really in the up and up, one of the things that the marriage counsel told us, like, did you guys got a chance to meet each other before y'all did all this? And we didn't. We just jumped crazy, whatever, because we were on cloud nine in love. So then once I got a chance to like talk to my ex-wife and talk about my past, my history, etc., she was like, you need help. And the way that she told me, like, the way her tone sounded when she told me that, it was like this urge of an emergency. You need to talk to somebody and talk to somebody fast.
Wow. How did that make you feel to have her say that to you?
It came from a place out of love and concern. And it probably was something that I wasn't listening, that somebody was not only listening, but seeing through her lens of what my trauma and experience and things look like. Because my only issue, I thought it was like I was just a guy with daddy issues, or not just having enough men in my life on how to be a man. But then, like, there was issues I was going through with my mother that she saw through her lens. They're like, you need to speak to a professional person and tell you how these people in your life, even though you love them, they kind of make your life really complicated than what it should be. So through that, I went through and seek the help that I was looking for, and it helped a lot.
It's interesting when you point out one, friends, and then your partner pointing out to speak to someone because it's a non-biased opinion. But I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me is the intersection of parenting and the impact of one's parents on their disposition and how they move around and move throughout life. And I think as much as we don't want to always deal with childhood and we don't want to deal with what we've learned, that is the foundation for so many of people's issues is the lack of parenting or the type of parenting that they receive.
Yeah.
Plays into how they perceive other people, and also what they need from other people.
Yeah.
Is profoundly impacted by the parenting that they received or did not receive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because when people come to therapy, they often will start with, I don't want to deal with my childhood, and I'm not here to talk about my parents.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Did you
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because that's the first thing she asked me. What was your childhood like? And I'm like, oh, I really want to talk. I didn't tell her I want to talk about it, but I didn't want to talk about it.
Get somebody else to talk about
it.
Right?
Can I just talk about what's happening to me now?
Right. I want to talk about why me and my wife are not working.
Yeah, I was talking about now, the present.
On my nerves.
Yeah, because you can't fix your childhood. I want to speak about what I could fix being an adult.
Yes, so true. And relationships are mirrors. I think you learn so much about yourself when you start to interact with other people. And the caveat, I guess the gag is you find a lot of people who don't want to deal with people or don't like people or don't like the opposite sex or don't like the same sex. It's usually that there's an intersectionality between they are rubbing a spot that you need to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like women who say they don't have female friends. There's something in that, in those relationships.
Yeah.
Or with your mother or with yourself that needs to be addressed. Because just a few women doing something to you doesn't mean every single woman is not going to be a good person, or you can't have a female friend. And what are you saying about yourself when you say you don't like women? What are you saying about men when you don't like men? When that is exactly who you are.
Yeah, that never makes sense to me.
I love myself. I think women are awesome. I think men are awesome, right? I think that when you can do that, you can separate and isolate individual circumstances or individual people from an entire population, entire gender of people.
I also think too, I don't want to make this a battle of sexes, but I have a lot of homegirls, and the one thing I do hear about from my female friends are like two things. They say that hanging out with guys is way more fun for whatever reason it is, and they also say that women tend to be more catty on the low than what you expect to. Yeah. That's another conversation, but that's the thing I get. I think that they got like that one or two friend that bestie, that ride or die chick. Yes. But as far as like having acquaintances all the time, and as far as that, they don't really do that. They have like that 2 or 3. If you're lucky, maybe 3 as that night.
I will never ever personally try to dismiss that, but that's a person's experiences that they're using to formulate that perspective, right? So, however, right, all men are not bad.
No.
And I take that to what this conversation is about, men's mental health. I mean, men get bashed often, right? Like, all men are dogs.
Oh, we have to sit there and take it.
Yeah, all men are dogs. Men are no good.
Take it. Yes.
I can only imagine what that's like. That's daunting
to
have that be the stigma that follows you as a man.
Yeah.
Right? And at the same time, we expect so much from you.
Yeah.
We expect you to have it together.
It's interesting. It's insane. It's insane.
We provide for you to protect us. Now, what if you don't know how to fight? Like there's this expectation that all men know how to fight. I'm sorry. No, not every guy is good with his hands.
No, we're not. That's why a lot of them bear arms. Because they can't fight.
And then we go to that.
Yeah.
You know, if we think about the violence of people picking up a gun and why there's such an increase in violence, again, it's protection.
Yeah.
If I'm carrying a gun, I'm also protecting myself. This is a certain way of, now I feel like I'm a man. I can protect myself. I can protect my family if I have this gun. So I think these societal contexts or constructs play a huge role in how men value or don't value themselves, right? So women are taught, you know, wait, don't be promiscuous, value your body's a temple, and men are told, sow your royal oats. The more you get, the better, right?
Isn't
two different messages.
Talk about the conflict of interest.
Right, two different messages. And at the end of the day, who is he sleeping with?
Yeah.
So while I'm out here conquesting,
yeah,
there has to now be a group of women who are okay with being conquested. Or young women who are being manipulated and thinking that this guy is the one.
Yeah.
And now they're being damaged and heartbroken because he's being told, no, sow your royal oats. And she's being told, wait for the right guy. So how do you get women to have to sleep with you unless you're being romantic and taking her on dates and making her think that you're this great guy?
The fact of the matter is that for every one guy, you got 4 or 5 women that's either fighting for him or sharing because he's giving himself up to the community. He's giving out community love.
We wasn't going to the community love.
He's giving out community love out there.
But we kind of think about the Nick Cannons of the world, right? If we think about mental health, Father's Day, masculinity, there's 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is like, well, he's being honest. Everybody knows he's showing up for all of his children. What's the problem? There shouldn't be any problem with that. He also has the finance. He also has the finance for it. He can afford it.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's another one that's saying there's no way he's able to be present for all of these kids. There's no way that all these women's needs are being met. He's doing the most. I think both things could be true. I think that's a lot for one man to have to navigate with the career that he has, even with money. He still is one individual that's trying to do all of those things. And I often wonder about Nick Cannon's mental health and how he's doing.
But he has like lupus or something like that. He has like,
and he also has health
issues. He had health issue.
Right.
So I don't know, because you got the Nick Cannon role, and then you have like
Nick.
No. I'm gonna say, because I think with him, he kind of somewhat accidentally on purpose kind of like did that, as opposed to somebody like a DMX that kind of like did it like on purpose while he was married.
You can't accidentally do it on purpose.
That's why I say accidentally on purpose. I mean, I'm gonna accidentally do this, but then purposely I'm really gonna do this.
But he did say he wanted to have a large family and
wanted
to have as many babies as he could.
Yeah.
You know, to carry on his lineage. Okay, fine. But I wonder later on, as we talk about, and if it's okay, we sort of segue a little bit into what you were sharing about your own dad.
Yeah.
Right? Not being available.
Yeah.
And although you may think you are being available to your child, you may find out later it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you were saying, you know, off air that, you know, your father showed up for academic things, but he wasn't present all the time.
Yeah.
So I wonder, with somebody that has multiple children, you're not going to be present for everything.
Yeah.
It's hard for people who just have the same wife and have a few kids to be present for everything that their kid is doing. I'm the oldest of 6, and I often was told, you're the oldest. We need you to understand. We need you to understand that I got to do this for your sister. I have to do that for your brother. And I need you to be a big girl and understand that daddy, mommy can't do X, Y, and Z for you. And you're going to have to wait. Now, looking back at that, like,
yeah.
Like, why gotta wait?
Yeah.
I really resented having all of those siblings. And I had siblings with the same parents.
Yeah.
And they just could not be everything for all 6 of us. They just couldn't do it.
You know, on my mom's side, it's just 2 of us. But the thing that I mean, it is what it is, because I remember when she had to go work, I had to like sidestep on my childhood. So there's certain things I couldn't do because I had to take care of little brother.
I
So
can relate to that.
so no boys club, no
totally
after school
relate to that.
program, no whatever the case may be, because mommy got to go to work. Can't hang out with your homeboys, can't do, because mommy got to go to work, and you got to make sure little brother's taken care of, whatever the case may be.
Shout out to everybody who was a latchkey kid and had sibling responsibilities, because that was real. Like, you know, I can't go. I gotta go get my little sister from school and make sure she gets home.
Yeah.
And I was very responsible.
Yeah.
When I think back, like, I could have easily just been like, nope, I'm gonna hang out with my friends and just leave my sister at school.
Yeah.
But I never did it.
I never did it.
Things. I was so responsible.
Yeah.
But I you go back to, is that just part of a large family system that happens to be living in the inner city and poor, middle class?
That's
right?
part of it. That's part of it. That's
like,
part of it.
You don't have, you know, the same resources when your mom's just at home and can just, if she's a working class mom, just be home and take care of all the kids. So
yeah,
you're gonna step up as the oldest sibling.
Yeah, but the older I got, now I'm starting to get a bit upset, because it's like, okay, this is like having a kid pretty much. You tell me don't have any kids because it's going to happen, but I'm doing this with my brother, so we got to find a balance. And then once I got a little bit vocal about it, like, I need to have a little bit of a life now, because now it was cool when I was in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but now up to my sophomore year, I kind of got to know, I'm like, yo, I need to do things. We either have to talk to our neighbors, you pay them, we're going to do it, because if that's the case, if this is going to be, I might just have a kid. Because I'm doing the same thing.
And then on the same note, then you're telling me I'm not responsible, and or you're trying to discipline me, and I'm like, man, listen, I'm coming home from school every day, taking care of my brothers.
You can't pull that, you know.
Clearly, I'm a pretty responsible kid, right? If I'm doing all of these things and I'm making great decisions. So, but it takes me to just, you know, the impact though that has on your mental health if you're a young man and you have that level of responsibility at an early age, and not having your father step into that gap.
Yeah.
Because that was my biggest beef with my dad, was if you were doing more, right? If you were doing more, then maybe I wouldn't have to do all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an oldest child.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I had a conflictual relationship with my father. It didn't get better until I got to be in college and an adult woman. Yeah. Our relationship got better, but primarily because he apologized and he took a lot of accountability for things he hadn't done in the past, which I think really helped me to heal daddy wounds that I had.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about behind the scenes, but now the older I've gotten, when I finally took therapy, and I think I've been having more talks with my mother with the things she could have done better at. And now more than ever, she's being more like apologetic than she was before. And it's like, she always got this thing that she doesn't want to be labeled as a bad mother. I'm like, look, I'm never going to call you a bad mother, because you were awesome. You just messed up here, and here. And this is the part I wish you would have done better. And now she's seen me as I am an adult, and with certain movements that I've done, because there was two things. She always just keep me a little bit too shielded, and kept looking at her as her baby instead of the adult man trying to figure this world out. And she finally told me, I think that's the one thing I messed up when I babied you too much. And now when you left, you were just all over the place trying to figure yourself out. And you never got that guidance that you needed between the issue with my father and then her just trying to her trying to figure herself out also. So it was you know what? I'm sorry for babying you in that department.
And I don't know. So I'm gonna push back on this idea of babying, because if you're the oldest, you have all this responsibility. Shouldn't you get some nurturing and some babying from
It depends. Mother? It depends. Certain things need to be shielded on, and certain things they need to let you go and be an adult.
Like
it's it's a balance. It's a balance.
What do you mean?
Because
when does the babying start?
I remember. Okay, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember that I wanted to get my license at an early age, and she was like, "No, because it's too young to drive, and this and the third." And some of my friends were driving earlier than me. What it could be? I didn't get a chance to drive till damn near 18 or 19. Stuff of that nature. That's one of those things that she just didn't want to let me go because she was afraid something might happen to me. And it's like, you can't instill me certain things she told me not to be afraid for, and the things I wasn't afraid for, she was afraid of.
Yes.
So again, she couldn't find that balance.
That's a great example. And I can definitely understand that. And I think there is the piece of being a mother of a son in the inner city that you are shielding or trying to shield.
Yeah.
And I know that thinking back to probably when, because we're probably around the same age, driving while black, I think probably was going on back then.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents were really, really scared for their youth to drive because of all of the stuff that was happening around just driving. So I wonder if that played into why she didn't want you to
again
drive.
It was that, and it was a lot of back. My mom, once I became like a teenager, she was kind of like out of touch with a lot of things that happened with the neighborhood, because she thought people were still like using their hands to fight. And I'm like, no, some of these kids are carrying pistols nowadays, Mom. Some of them, she thought the most they'll do is carry a pocket knife or whatever the case may be. So no, some of these kids are carrying pistols, and now the gangs here where we live at in Lawrence is a little bit out of control. It's not like because we live in a small town, and every time we saw the news, something always happened in Mattapan or in Roxbury or in Dorchester, like the big city. So she never thought like something like a city like Lawrence wouldn't happen. She knew it was bad, but she didn't think it was like Dorchester bad. And then once she saw it a little bit, it's being like Dorchester bad, even though it's a small town.
Right.
They're like, okay, I got to get you out of here. We got it. Then she took me to like the sticks of another town and went to a white school. That became something else.
Wow. And those that are listening, I know that we have listeners that listen from all over. So, Lawrence is more of a suburban town in Massachusetts, where I'm in Roxbury. Dorchester, Mattapan is more the urban inner city areas, in Boston, which is also Massachusetts.
I gotta fix that. It's not a suburban town. It's a small town. It's a hood small town. It got its problems.
Yes,
but it's not like.
But isn't that like Lynn? Like
it's like Lynn. It's like Lynn, but Lynn gets a little out of control sometimes.
We don't really consider those to be the inner city, though.
It's not inner cities, but just because it's not an inner city doesn't mean it's like a town with problems. That's the thing. So even though it's a small town, it does have its gangster. It has its issues.
A lot of times people lump everything together like it's Boston.
Yeah, that's too.
What is that? That's not Western Massachusetts. Where's Lawrence?
No, it's up north. It's up north.
So,
near New Hampshire.
Yeah, so it's a different area in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So thinking about mental health now, so you did therapy in terms of like going because of your marriage and your relationship. Is it something that's ongoing? But you're still seeing the therapist, or did you say, okay, I got everything that I needed and now?
No, I'm actually trying to go back, and what happened was right around the time my grandfather passed away, my therapist left. So I didn't really have anybody to talk to. So now I've been trying to find a therapist since then, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. So I've been trying to go more than ever, because one of the things that I've been dealing with is like mortality after my grandfather. So ever since March, is it March? Yeah, ever since March, I've seen myself go to a funeral once a month now.
Oh wow, that's tough.
Yeah.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah. So the thing about it, like each funeral or wake that I've gone to is either somebody's mother or somebody's father. That's why behind the scenes, that's another reason why I have those conversations with the old man, because anything can happen and tomorrow's not promised. Even if I don't get what I look for in the end, I just at least want to have something there.
So old man meaning his dad, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about his father. So should we share that it's been a while since you and your dad actually spoke?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Yeah. It's been a couple of years. It's a little family feud there. I won't get to the family feud, but it's a little family feud. But the thing about it, let's just have a conversation, because he's a I don't know if you're this astrology stuff like that, but he's a Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. So I know we have that like stubbornness about ourselves that we just like don't want to hear anybody talk once we feel as though we're wrong, we're right within a situation that we feel we're right upon. So it's just like him being stubborn. Again, I know there's love there. It's just stubborn to like, yes. Whenever I'm ready to have that talk, I'll have that talk. But it's like, let's try to have this sooner than later, because tomorrow's not promised.
It takes a lot of courage. When my dad passed away, the week before he passed away, his car had some car issues. He needed to get picked up and dropped off, pretty much for work. And I remember he asked me, and there was just and there was an inner feeling of just say yes. And he was like, "Hey, baby girl, can you pick your father up off at work? If you can't, don't worry about it." And I just was like, "Yeah, I can." I never told him that I pretty much was staying at work until like 9 o'clock to pick him up from work. But that week of picking him up, we had some really deep conversations on that ride home. And one of those conversations was around my love life, my desire to be married, and this thought I had around not being a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
Because I have two sisters that are younger than me, and I'm the oldest. And they always needed something. They always asked. They always reached out. And I was always the one that he would call. "Hey, what's going on, oldest daughter? I haven't heard from you. Yeah. What's going on? You're the busy one. You're always doing a lot." And I had got so hyper focused on my own independence because that was how I was raised. I was raised, take care of Lakeisha. Your siblings come first. The selflessness of like considering other people's feelings, putting my feelings aside and looking at the greater good of the family.
Yeah.
When I did choose myself, I used to get in trouble. Like, "Oh, you didn't think about your siblings? You didn't bring your siblings?"
Yeah.
You didn't share with them.
Yeah.
So it was constantly like me not putting myself first. So it was something I had to learn later in life. But what I will say is those conversations of him acknowledging that, looking back, he sees how I got to be the way that I was. And him saying it's okay for you to want what you want, speak up for what you want. And that I've always considered you a daddy's girl. Like, so there was a lot of these things that, came out of that conversation. But I will say I had to be brave enough to say I needed that.
Yeah. And it's a lot. Again, it's like I was said earlier on, it's that conversation / confrontation you need to have with your parents, just to, I guess I'll speak for myself. It's that thing that I needed from my parents to feel like, yo, I'm not your little boy anymore.
But maybe that's precisely what you could consider changing, is to go back to that little boy and be vulnerable enough.
Yeah, I still got to work on that part. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
And I would say in that moment when I said, "Daddy, I don't feel like a daddy's girl," that wasn't Keisha talking.
Oh, right.
That was the little girl in me that wanted to hug and wanted her daddy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember that moment being like so uncomfortable to say that out loud and not knowing how he would respond or what he would do. And he just like, because I was like in my car and touched my hand and he said, "You're always gonna be a daddy's girl. I don't know. Why would you think something like that?" And he just like everything that I was afraid of, he just like got rid of.
How do you feel when he said that?
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried. And what I'm gonna say is that the stubbornness of just wanting to be this adult and be hyper focused on having it together.
Yeah.
It's precisely what I would say drop.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for parents, being able to act as if and to acknowledge to your kid that you don't know everything. Because I think as a parent, you're supposed to know.
You would think that too, because that's one of my other thoughts too I've had, because you automatically think because they're your parents, you're supposed to know how we feel and how we react. Because one of the things about, I mean, you're a parent yourself. You know when your kid's acting a certain way, his routine is not moving the way it should be moving. Exactly. So you ask him, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you feeling like this? Are you okay?" So you think.
And most kids are going to say they're fine.
They're fine. That's the thing. They'll be in denial because they don't want to talk.
Fine.
Don't be it. But then it's another catch-22 because it's like kids also has that thing that they're not fine, but they expect the parents to be a psychic and be like,
and push a little bit more.
Yeah.
And be okay with them being a little moody, a little grumpy. What I would say for parents is that don't forget what it was like to be that age.
Yeah.
Don't forget that you don't know everything. And that, for me and my son recently, me having a conversation with him about coping strategies, and he's like, "I'm fine. I don't need to talk. I don't need to do this." And me having to tell him like, "Let me tell you some stories about your mom. Let me tell you like all of this running at his house isn't easy. Like, and I I will say I wish that my parents would have been a little bit more expressive with their emotions.
Yeah.
And would have allowed me to see some of their struggles and cry a little bit more. And I think it would have maybe been even different for them. And maybe there would have been some more empathy that I would have had for their struggle.
Yeah, but that's rough too because they're from that era. You're not supposed to show it. So it's rough. It's rough.
Show it.
That's more like us now.
Yes. So I say all of that to say that sometimes that we can be the mirrors for our parents and that we can break the stigma by the buck stopping with us and doing something different than what they taught us to do. And they can learn a lot from us too.
Yeah, that's another reason why I would love to have that conversation with my dad, because even though we're at this thing, like I know he loves me. Even though he's hard-headed, I know he loves me. Even when I finally graduated from college, like his friend that he's really cool with, like she called me. She like, look, I know your dad is not a talkative person. He's not a person that is social feelings, but trust me, he's very happy. He's really, really, really happy because I was the only one out of all his kids that actually went to college. Everybody quit. They gave up. They stopped after high school. They tried doing it and they just couldn't do it. So I actually like accomplished whatever goal I set when it comes to like academic stuff. So he was like, yo, he's proud of you in that department, but he ain't gonna tell you. He said, good for you, and I'm gonna be whatever. But trust me, when you gave him that call, he was smiling like.
What did you want him to do?
In regards to what?
Your father. What did you want him to do?
Like what? When I graduated or when?
What did you want? What was the desire?
Well, I mean, he showed up, so I know he's gonna show up. I mean, I wasn't gonna be like, that's my boy. He should like, congratulations. It's like a half smirk, or like he got a game face off, like nothing impresses him. So that's his persona. I expect nothing more, nothing less. I didn't have that attitude like, yo, you're really happy for me that I actually did this or whatever. I know he was. It's just that he's not an expressive kind of person, and he's more, like I told you, he's more vulnerable when it comes to the girls in his family. So like when I speak to my sister, he's like, yeah, he's this and this because of this and this. So he got his game face or whatever the case may be, but when he's just not an expressive kind of man because he doesn't know how to express himself. He never knew how to love. So because he never knew how to love, his whole thing is just like either a smirk or let me throw you a couple of dollars because me showing a couple of dollars shows that I'm happy for you or whatever the case may be. So that's his way of showing love.
So when we say somebody doesn't know how to love, it makes me wonder, first of all, how do we learn how to do that? So when we say somebody's not, if what he learned was, I give you money.
Yeah.
I show up when it's a crisis.
Yeah.
If you need me, I'm there for you.
Yeah.
And that's how you know I love you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you. Nah.
Because you're my son. It's an obvious.
Yeah.
Given.
It's good.
You got my blood in you.
Yeah.
So I love you. So when we say someone doesn't know how to love, I think sometimes what it is that we want to feel love in a particular way.
Affection.
So how do you want to be loved?
Affection, show it. Because when
want your daddy to hug you.
I want to hug, damn it. Sometimes I want to hug, but like, you know what? I'm sorry, or just hug me when things are good. Well, yeah, whenever I see him, I hug him. Whenever I see him, I hug. Yeah, we give each other hugs. We show each other love. Okay, baby. I have to do the initiation on that. Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps. But I talk to my clients a lot about reframing things. So we use absolutes like he doesn't know how to love. And that hits different than what I would prefer for him to do is to give me a hug.
Yeah.
And how he shows me love is he'll show up if I'm in a crisis.
Yeah.
Because it gives him space to grow.
Yeah.
It gives him space, and it also acknowledges the things that he does do right.
Yeah. And also, I don't want to make this sound like gloomy or something like that. Like, I just wish. No, I don't want to make this sound gloomy. Like, we do have love to each other. We just go into a little situation, a family feud. I get it. I love the man. I know he loves me.
He doesn't know how to love.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, but that's not totally the case. I mean, the man shows love in the way that he
it's different. It's
love,
different. And maybe because of my spoiledness, because I was with my mom the whole time, like she showed affection, she showed love, she showed hugs, she's an affection. She shows affection as opposed to my dad. He's not really an affectionate man. So I don't know if it's like a man thing, old school old school man type of thing.
Well, I'm gonna ask you as a man because it is about men's mental health.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is something that's just attributed to your father. I think a lot of men can relate to what you're expressing about not hearing it and not getting hugs.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also some women, some mothers that don't do that. So you are blessed that your mom was nurturing in that way because not everybody's mother was hugging on them and saying they love them. And that's something that they expected from their mother.
And it's so funny you mentioned it because I had that with my mother in my head. I'm thinking that every mother in the world does that to their kid. And then I found out that not too many mothers are that affectionate to their kids, especially with their daughters. I found out was very interesting. When it comes to the mother-daughter dynamic, they're not really, a lot of them I found out are not as that affectionate with their daughters.
No, and a lot of mothers didn't get that from their mother, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of black moms in general, like there was a hyper focus on strength and poker face, game face. You don't all of that. You don't need all of that, to be able to navigate the world. You need to be strong.
Yeah.
Right? My mother didn't cry. If she wanted to cry, she would go in the room and close the door.
Yeah.
She didn't want us to see her.
You don't want to see it. You don't want to see it.
And you would think that that's a very feminine, motherly thing to do is to cry.
Yeah. I was okay with her crying. Yeah. When the time I was okay with that. But it was like I cried and again keep it pushing. Yeah. That's it. Cry for 2 seconds, let the tears go out, and then let's go back to these streets and handle business.
And most men, what you're asking your father to do is not manly. That's not usually the criteria of a man. A man is like, let's go fix this car.
Yeah.
Let me go show you how to make some money.
That's a good point. And at the same time, you know what? I'm not even expecting him to do that either. I'm not expecting to have like the special Family Matters episode and be like, you're my son and I'm your dad and I just want to say I love you. I don't even expect that anymore. It'll be nice, but it's just that one little more. Be like, you know what, champ?
So
I'm glad you became the man that you became, and I'm proud of you. The end.
I'm gonna challenge you with something.
What up?
Ask him for it. Tell him that's what you need.
Yeah.
Now you just gave me that noise. What was that? What was that?
That'll be a tough one. I mean,
why? Tell me why that would be tough.
Because again, with him, I know how that conversation is gonna go in my head. It was like, what do you mean you want to have? What do you mean what do you want? You want to? Why you want to hug? What's the need for a hug? What's the need?
I'm gonna play your daddy.
What?
I'm gonna say that, and you're gonna tell me why. Why do you need a hug?
Because I just need, as a son, I wanted some sort of love and affection that I've been missing out on. There's certain things that you missed out on that I'm not happy with.
Okay. I missed out on. I don't need a hug. You need a hug, right? So why you need the hug?
See, this is why the conversation. This is one of the things I was hoping he could just keep his mouth shut. And in my happy world, my happy Family Matters episode, I'll be like, you know what? I want that violin in the background when I'm talking, that sentimental, like Full House. And be like, you know what, Dad? I just wish yada yada yada. But see, just the type of answer you're giving me, that's what I'm going to expect. So I'm wasting my breath.
But I'm like, son, you need a hug. Okay, so I'm gonna hug you. You want me to hug you more often because I didn't hug you as a kid? Okay. So now I'm gonna start hugging you every time. Every time you want a hug, I give you a hug. Right? Don't I give you a hug? When you come hug me, I hug you back. I hug you strong. So what's the problem? What you mean I don't hug you?
Yeah, that's the reason why I know. See, you're talking like him right now, so I know how this conversation is gonna go. This is the reason why I don't want to have it. You're like,
so what's the problem?
Really?
What's the problem?
What's the problem? It's just like, sometimes I'm feeling vulnerable. Me as a man, like I want to feel that kind of vulnerability with my dad and show that, I want a hug. I want some love. I want, that sentimental thing. I know that. So that's why I'm not holding my breath.
When I see you, I love you. Yeah. It's real awkward for me to just give out hugs and affection. That's gonna be a hard ass. I'll try.
Yeah, the hard ass I'll try. That's why I'm not gonna have it. So.
No, I didn't say it wouldn't happen. I'm just saying that's not my go-to, son.
Yeah, so
my go-to isn't to hug you.
Yeah.
Nobody was hugging me when I was growing up.
Yeah, that's another. It's like a evolving kind of cycle thing that doesn't stop.
So when you see me, just hug me, because I like when you hug me.
Yeah. I'll give him a hug.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I just don't. It just doesn't come to my mind to do it. You know, it doesn't come to my mind to do it. But I hear you though. I used to want people to hug me when I was a kid too.
Yeah. Did you get them?
No.
Yes.
And I had to suck it up. But you know what? I'm thankful that you're telling me that you need a hug.
Yeah. Can I get a hug after the show?
Yeah, we're gonna hug it up.
Thanks. Thanks, girl. Thanks.
Listen.
You know what that's so hanging. You know what it,
mother, okay?
you know what it is hanging out with Britt. She's a hugger. So every time she hugs somebody, I'm a hugger. I need to get hugged. So hanging around her, it gets addicting.
I think what it is that you spending so much time with your mother. That energy about the hugging is your mother's energy.
Yeah, it is. 100%.
So that's now a part of who you are.
Yeah.
And so if I could encourage you, stop comparing the two parents.
I really don't. Did it sound like that?
Well, because your mom is the hugger.
He's not. But he's I think in all, again, because he's been through a lot. It's hard.
Been through a lot too, but
he's been worse. His is worse. I can't. If I want to compare, his is worse. So I kind of get why his is a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't have a trauma, but his is a lot worse.
We didn't even do your bet on self moment, and we got like 2 minutes left.
Lay it on me, girl.
You got 2 minutes to talk about your bet on self moment.
2 minutos.
Yes, please. And we may have to let the disclaimer come on, and then Marv will be mad at me, but it's Father's Day, so maybe he's not listening. So, bet on self, right?
Bet on self.
I want you to bet on self with your dad, but
yeah,
what's your bet on self moment?
No, everything. Bet on self with my dad, finding whatever symbolic of what happiness is, inner peace. I'm more than ever learn how to be more talkative about my feelings. Anything that I do right now, like I put my best foot forward. That's why I'm thank you for the invite to do the poetry thing, because I was starting to get the jitters, but just off the fact when I did that poem that got, people feeling a certain way, like, okay, I guess I'm kind of back on my moment, because I haven't performed like in 8 years. So just going back to these poetry sessions back in Boston is like the equivalent of like riding a bike again. So now I get a chance to show the skills that I had. So I knew when I do certain things and certain poems, like if I was able to like either trigger you or make you laugh or make you cry or do something to dig deep, then I think I'm going back to my mode. So the things that I used to like not do before or do before, I'm doing it again. So 100, thank you for having me on the show. Thank you for the opportunity for June 28th. You're gonna see my daughter there, my stepdaughter. So she's gonna show love and support. So I'm happy about that.
Make sure you let me get her complimentary pass. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. Passion, thank you for your commentary. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Everybody on iHeart, Facebook. Here we go. Hold on. Let me let that roll.
Expect the unexpected. Unorthodox radio from Boston and beyond. Heat981fm.com and iHeart Station.
So, yes, everybody who's tuned in from all of the different platforms, again, happy Father's Day to everybody.
Happy Father's Day.
And happy men's mental health.
Yes.
We appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this live. Next week, I have Michael Chief Peterson coming on.
Another Michael?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just great human beings.
He is going to also be speaking and performing at Pole Therapy, and he's from Connecticut. He does a podcast called Men Need Therapy Too. Black Men Need Therapy Too. So he's coming on next week as we close out men's mental health.
And we need hugs too, damn it.
And I'm going to give tonight a hug. And thank you all for tuning in. Make sure y'all tune in tomorrow for another dope morning cafe with the morning cafe crew, and keep it locked on Urban Heat 98.1 FM. I'm Coach Lai, your favorite around the way therapist. This was another Conversations with Coach Lai. See you next Sunday.
Yeah.
Bye.
Later. Peace.